At 62, David had one sentence on repeat in his head: I am ready to be done. He had worked for more than 4 decades. He had saved consistently. He had survived recessions, layoffs, market crashes, and more Monday mornings than he cared to count. His wife Renee understood exactly how he felt. They had spent years talking about retirement as if it were a distant country. Now it was finally close enough to touch. David wanted to retire this year. Renee had only one question: what would change if he worked one more year? At first, David thought the answer was obvious. He would earn one more year of salary. That was true, but it was only the first layer. Near retirement, one extra year can change a financial plan from several directions at the same time. You may earn another year of income. You may save another year of contributions. Your employer may add another year of matching contributions if your plan provides them. Your investments may get another year without being tapped for living expenses. Your retirement may become 1 year shorter. Your Social Security decision may change. Your health insurance situation may change. Your cash reserve may become stronger. Your debt may become smaller. And your confidence about leaving work may change too. That is why one more year can be much more powerful than 12 additional paychecks. But there is another side to the story. A year of life is not free. You cannot put 62 back on the calendar when you are 72. If your health is declining, your work is damaging your relationships, or you already have more than enough, the financially stronger choice may not be the better life choice. So this is not a video about telling everyone to work longer. It is about understanding what one more year actually buys. The right question is not simply whether working longer produces more money. Of course it usually does. The better question is whether the improvement is meaningful enough to justify the time. To understand that, we need to stop thinking about retirement as a finish line. Retirement is a transition between two different cash flow systems. Before retirement, work usually sends money into the household. After retirement, the household begins relying more heavily on assets and retirement income sources. The year when that direction changes can be unusually important. David and Renee are a useful example. Their numbers are hypothetical and are only meant to illustrate the mechanics. They have $900,000 in retirement and investment accounts. They also maintain a separate emergency reserve. Their retirement lifestyle is expected to require about $72,000 a year before taxes. Some future income will eventually come from Social Security. But if David retires immediately, their portfolio will need to carry more of the load during the early years. David earns enough that they can cover current living expenses while he is working. They can also add about $25,000 to retirement savings over the next year. His employer plan may contribute another $5,000 under the assumptions of our example. That gives us a $30,000 contribution difference before we consider anything else. Now imagine the portfolio earns 5% during that year. That 5% is not a forecast. It is simply an illustrative assumption so we can compare two paths using the same market environment. If David retires now, the $900,000 portfolio might gain about $45,000 before withdrawals are considered. If the household then needs about $50,000 from the portfolio during that year, the ending value would be roughly $895,000 in this simplified example. Now look at the work one more year path. The same starting portfolio gets the same illustrative $45,000 market gain. David and Renee do not need the $50,000 retirement withdrawal during that year because employment income covers the household. They also add about $30,000 through contributions and the assumed employer contribution. That leaves the portfolio near $975,000 in this simplified comparison. The difference between the two paths is about $80,000 after only 1 year. Notice what created that difference. It was not an $80,000 salary bonus. It was the combination of money going in and money not coming out. That is the first major insight. Near retirement, 1 more year can create a double effect. You are still feeding the portfolio, and you are postponing the moment when the portfolio has to feed you. That combination can be surprisingly powerful. The exact numbers will vary by household. Returns will not arrive in a neat straight line. Contributions may be smaller or larger. Spending needs may be very different. But the mechanism remains. More money in and less money out can move the retirement starting point in 2 directions at once. There is also a third effect. The retirement itself becomes 1 year shorter. Suppose David expects to plan around a retirement that could last 30 years. If he works one more year, the portfolio may now need to support 29 years instead of 30. That does not sound dramatic. But a retirement plan is a chain of annual spending needs. Removing one link from that chain matters. It matters even more because the removed year is usually one of the earliest withdrawal years. Early withdrawal years can be especially sensitive to bad market timing. Imagine two retirees with identical portfolios and identical average long-term returns. One experiences strong markets during the first few years. The other experiences a severe decline immediately after leaving work. The second retiree may be forced to withdraw money while asset prices are depressed. Those withdrawals remove assets that cannot fully participate in a later recovery. This is one reason the sequence of returns matters after retirement begins. Working one additional year does not eliminate market risk. Nothing does. But it may postpone the first large withdrawals. It may also give the portfolio more time before the household begins depending on it. That can make the transition less fragile. Now imagine that David's final year at work happens to coincide with a weak market. That might feel disappointing. But he is still receiving a paycheck. He may be able to continue buying investments through regular contributions at lower prices. He may not need to sell the portfolio to pay for groceries or utilities. A weak market while you are still accumulating can feel very different from a weak market after you have begun withdrawing. This does not mean everyone should wait for a good market before retiring. Trying to predict the market can become another form of endless postponement. The point is simply that employment income can absorb some pressure during a difficult year. That flexibility has value. The fourth effect involves Social Security. Retirement from work and claiming Social Security are not the same decision. A person can stop working and delay claiming benefits. A person can also continue working and claim benefits, although different rules can apply before full retirement age. For people reaching age 62 in 2026, current Social Security rules set full retirement age at 67. Benefits can currently begin as early as age 62, but starting before full retirement age generally reduces the monthly benefit. Waiting longer to claim generally produces a higher monthly benefit up to age 70 under current rules. Working another year can therefore create options. It may make it easier to delay claiming because employment income is still coming in. It may also increase the eventual benefit if a new year of earnings replaces a lower year in the worker's highest 35 years of earnings. But this is an important distinction. Simply working one more year does not automatically increase Social Security by the same amount for everyone. The result depends on your earnings history and the age when you actually claim. That means the retirement date and the Social Security claiming date should be analyzed separately. David originally thought retirement at 62 meant he had to claim Social Security at 62. It does not. He could retire and use other resources for a period. He could work longer and claim later. He could choose another combination. Each path creates different trade-offs. That is why a strong retirement plan does not treat Social Security as a switch that automatically flips on the last day of work. The fifth effect may be healthcare. For many Americans, Medicare eligibility usually begins around age 65. That creates a potentially expensive gap for someone who retires in the early 60s and loses employer health coverage. One more year of work may remove 1 year from that gap if the employer continues providing suitable coverage. For some households, that can be one of the most valuable reasons to work longer. For other households, it may matter very little because they have coverage through a spouse or another affordable option. The details depend heavily on the employer plan and personal circumstances. People working past 65 also need to understand how job-based coverage interacts with Medicare enrollment rules. That is not something to guess about. A benefits administrator and Medicare can help clarify the timing for a specific situation. For David and Renee, however, the concept is simple. If David retires at 62, they must solve a longer pre-Medicare health insurance problem. If he works one more year, that problem becomes 1 year shorter. That may save premiums. It may also reduce uncertainty. But again, the value is household-specific. The sixth effect is debt. Imagine David and Renee still owe $18,000 on a car loan. They could retire now and continue making the payments from retirement cash flow, or they could use part of 1 more year of employment income to eliminate the balance before retirement. The benefit is not just the interest saved. The required monthly retirement spending becomes lower. A lower spending need reduces the amount the portfolio must produce. This shows why the best use of an extra working year is often specific. Working one more year without a goal can simply feel like postponement. Working one more year to enter retirement with no consumer debt is a defined mission. Working one more year to build a 12-month cash reserve is a defined mission. Working one more year to bridge closer to Medicare is a defined mission. Working one more year to increase a pension benefit may be a defined mission. Working one more year to strengthen Social Security claiming flexibility may be a defined mission. A specific purpose changes the psychology of the decision. Instead of saying, "I guess I should keep working because retirement is scary," you can say, "I am using this year to accomplish 3 measurable things." That is a very different relationship with work. It also creates an endpoint. Without an endpoint, one more year has a habit of becoming 3. The portfolio grows. Then you move the target. The market falls. Then you move the target again. A new expense appears. Then you postpone again. Eventually, the plan stops protecting retirement and starts preventing retirement. That is why the 7th insight is about enough. You need a definition of enough before you decide whether another year is necessary. A retirement plan cannot answer that question using account balances alone. It must include spending. A household with $1 million and $40,000 of annual spending is in a different position from a household with $1 million and $90,000 of annual spending. Income sources matter too. A pension changes the amount the portfolio must cover. Social Security changes it. Part-time income changes it. Rental income may change it. Taxes change it. Healthcare changes it. Debt changes it. The portfolio is only one part of the retirement machine. So when David asks whether he should work one more year, Renee does not begin with the size of their investment account. She begins with their retirement spending gap. How much do they expect to spend? How much will reliable income cover? How much must come from the portfolio? How does that number change if David works one more year? That is a much better calculation. Suppose their long-term retirement spending gap is $40,000 a year after other income begins. If one more year allows them to enter retirement with $80,000 more in the portfolio, that difference represents roughly 2 years of that spending gap before considering future returns or taxes. That does not mean the extra year literally buys 2 guaranteed years of retirement. It does show why the difference can feel larger when measured against what the portfolio actually needs to provide. Percentages can hide this, purpose can reveal it. The 8th effect is psychological. Retirement is not only a mathematical event. It is also the moment when a person who spent decades earning a paycheck begins spending money they spent decades protecting. That transition can be emotionally difficult. Some people have enough money but do not feel ready. They watch every market movement. They worry about every purchase. They feel guilty spending on travel. They treat a normal repair like a financial emergency. One more working year can sometimes strengthen the numbers enough to reduce that fear. But sometimes the opposite happens. The extra year proves that the problem was never the portfolio. The problem was the person's relationship with uncertainty. If David reaches the end of the extra year with more savings, less debt, and stronger benefits, but still says he needs one more year, Renee should pay attention. They may no longer be solving a financial problem. They may be trying to eliminate uncertainty completely. Retirement cannot offer that. No amount of money can guarantee perfect markets, perfect health, or a perfectly predictable future. A plan needs resilience. It does not need certainty. This leads to one of the most important questions in the entire decision. What would have to be true 1 year from now for you to feel comfortable retiring? Write the answer down. Maybe the portfolio needs to reach a specific range. Maybe the car loan needs to disappear. Maybe the emergency fund needs 6 more months of spending. Maybe you want to reach a healthcare milestone. Maybe you need a clearer Social Security strategy. Maybe you need to prove that your expected retirement budget actually works. Those are measurable. Fear is not. If the only goal is to feel 100% certain, the finish line will keep moving. There is another mistake people make when comparing retire now with work one more year. They count the full salary as if every dollar becomes new retirement wealth. That is usually unrealistic. Taxes still exist. Living expenses still exist. Commuting may still exist. Work clothing may still exist. Meals and convenience spending may still exist. The relevant number is not gross salary. The relevant number is how much stronger the household balance sheet becomes because of that year. That improvement might come from additional savings. It might come from avoided withdrawals. It might come from reduced debt. It might come from employer benefits. It might come from a larger pension. It might come from delaying another retirement income source. And it might come from several of those at once. This is why David and Renee need two columns. The first column is retire now. The second column is work one more year. Under each column, they list the same categories: portfolio balance at retirement, cash reserve, debt balance, expected annual spending, healthcare cost, expected portfolio withdrawal, Social Security claiming plan, pension amount if applicable, employer benefits that would continue or disappear, and one final category that spreadsheets often ignore: quality of life. David gives that last line a very high weight. He is tired. His job is not dangerous, but it is draining. He has been postponing weekday hikes, long visits with family, and a trip he and Renee have talked about for years. Those things are not luxuries outside the retirement calculation. They are part of the reason retirement exists. A financially optimized plan that ignores life can become a very expensive way to waste time. Now imagine a different person. Her name is Maria. She is 61. She likes her work. She can work remotely 3 days a week. Her employer offers strong health coverage and a retirement match. Her savings are close to sufficient, but she still has a meaningful spending gap. For Maria, one more year may have a low lifestyle cost and a high financial benefit. The answer could easily be yes. Now imagine Thomas. He is 64. His portfolio is comfortably above what his plan requires. He has no debt. His spouse already has health coverage for the household. His job is physically exhausting. He has delayed retirement twice because market headlines made him nervous. For Thomas, another year may produce more money without producing much more security. The answer could easily be no. Same question. Different life. That is why rules like everyone should work until 65 or everyone should retire as soon as possible are not useful. The decision is personal because the trade-offs are personal. But the framework can still be systematic. Start with the financial gain. How much additional saving is realistic during the extra year? How much employer contribution would you actually receive? How much portfolio withdrawal would you avoid? Would the pension change? Would Social Security options improve? Would healthcare costs change? Would debt be reduced? Then calculate the lifestyle cost. How stressful is the work? How flexible is the schedule? How is your health? What are you postponing? Is a spouse already retired and waiting? Are there parents, children, or grandchildren you want more time with? Do you have goals that depend on being healthy enough to do them? These questions are not sentimental decorations. They are part of retirement economics, because time is a scarce resource too. Money can compound. Time cannot be replenished. That does not make time automatically more important than money. It means both belong in the decision. There is also a middle path that many people overlook. The choice does not always have to be full-time work or full retirement. David might negotiate 4 days a week. He might move into a less stressful role. He might consult for 6 months. He might use accumulated vacation strategically. He might work long enough to complete a specific financial goal and then stop. A phased retirement can preserve some income while returning some time. It can also test the retirement budget before the paycheck disappears completely. Not every employer offers that flexibility, but it is worth asking. Retirement decisions become easier when they are not falsely reduced to two extreme choices. Now let us revisit the simplified $80,000 difference in David and Renee's example. That number sounds powerful. But what if David hates his job so much that another year feels unbearable? Then the $80,000 has a cost. What if their retirement plan is already strong enough without it? Then the marginal value of the extra money may be smaller than it appears. What if their plan is barely sustainable without it? Then the same $80,000 may be extremely valuable. Financial value depends on the problem the money is solving. This is a principle worth remembering. The first dollars that make a retirement plan viable are more important than the dollars that merely make an already strong plan larger. One extra year can move a household from fragile to comfortable, or it can move a household from comfortable to slightly more comfortable. Those are not the same outcome. The closer you are to the line between enough and not enough, the more powerful one extra year can be. This is especially true when the year improves several weak points at once. Maybe it eliminates debt. Maybe it strengthens the cash reserve. Maybe it avoids an early portfolio withdrawal. Maybe it gets you closer to Medicare. Maybe it gives Social Security more time. Maybe it helps you enter retirement during a more stable personal situation. Stack enough of those effects together and one calendar year can have an outsized impact. But do not confuse that with a universal command to work longer. There are situations where retiring sooner is rational even if working longer produces more money. Serious health concerns are one. Caregiving responsibilities are another. A toxic work environment is another. A strong financial position with meaningful life goals is another. Sometimes the best return on 1 year is not earned in an account. It is earned in time. The decision becomes clearer when you stop asking whether 1 more year is financially better. It almost always improves at least some financial metrics. Ask whether 1 more year changes the retirement plan enough to matter. That is the threshold. For David and Renee, the answer comes from 5 questions. First, what does working 1 more year add? Second, what does it prevent them from having to withdraw? Third, what benefits or costs change because of timing? Fourth, what specific weakness in their retirement plan does the year fix? Fifth, what personal experiences does the year cost them? Those 5 questions turn a vague fear into a decision. David discovers that the extra year could strengthen their portfolio, eliminate the car loan, preserve employer health coverage for another year, and give them more flexibility about Social Security. Those are meaningful gains. But he also realizes that he does not want the extra year to become another moving target. So he and Renee write down their finish line. They choose a savings target, they choose a debt target, they choose a date. They identify what they will do about health insurance after that date. They review their Social Security options separately from the retirement date. Then they make one promise to each other. They will not move the finish line just because the market has a bad month. That promise may be as important as the spreadsheet. A plan should help you make decisions under uncertainty. It should not require uncertainty to disappear. 1 year later, David may retire with more money. But the real improvement is that the money now has a purpose. The extra year was not simply another year at work. It was a bridge from one financial system to another. That is the best way to think about working longer. Do not measure the year only by salary. Measure the contributions. Measure the withdrawals you avoid. Measure the benefits you preserve. Measure the debt you remove. Measure the risks you reduce. Measure the flexibility you gain. Then measure the time you give up. If the financial improvement is large and the lifestyle cost is manageable, 1 more year can be one of the most powerful retirement levers available. If the financial improvement is small and the lifestyle cost is high, 1 more year may simply make an already adequate plan larger. There is no prize for dying with the most optimized spreadsheet. There is also no prize for retiring early with a plan that creates constant financial fear. The goal is not to retire at the earliest possible age. The goal is not to work until the latest possible age. The goal is to reach the point where money can support the life you actually want. So before you tell yourself, "I have to work 1 more year," change the sentence. Ask, what exactly will 1 more year change? If you can name the answer in dollars, benefits, debt, risk, and quality of life, you can evaluate the trade. If you cannot name the answer, the extra year may be driven more by fear than by strategy. Retirement is too important to be delayed automatically. It is also too important to be rushed blindly. 1 more year can be transformative. 1 more year can also be unnecessary. The difference is whether that year has a job. Give the year a job. Define the finish line. Then decide whether the result is worth 12 months of your life.